The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
Summer music festivals are back. So to celebrate all this July, the Agenda in the Summer revisits conversations with a diverse cast of musicians and music experts. Tonight, M.I.A. Arul Pragasam, best known as M.I.A. from 2018. Her name is Matangi M.I.A. Arul Pragasam. Most people, though, know her as M.I.A. She's been renowned over the past 14 years for her music and for her politics. Her father was the founder of the Tamil resistance movement in Sri Lanka, where she spent much of her childhood before fleeing the country's civil war with her mother and siblings. She made her North American debut here in Toronto more than a decade ago. What's brought her back to us is the documentary Matangi M.I.A. M.I.A., which her friend Steve Loveridge created about her. It screened at Hot Docs earlier this year, and with that, we welcome M.I.A. to the studio.
Hi. It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
You know, the Drake Hotel was my first ever show in my life.
Yeah, in
basically.
Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to give a sense of what the documentary is about, let's take a look at some of the documentary. Sheldon, can you please roll?
At least 100 have arrived in South London.
I had to deal with the fact that I was different and I was an immigrant.
The government say there are too many of them.
In Sri Lanka, we were surrounded by a civil war. My dad was the founder of the Tamil resistance.
Maitoz so strong for what he's put us through.
Music was my medicine. It just blew up so quickly. I lived through a war, came as a refugee that is now a pop star. What are the goalposts?
What do I do?
In the documentary, we see how you, you're a very creative person through fashion, how you express yourself through music. What place has advocacy had in your music throughout your career? Is this something that just happened organically, or is it something that you felt like you needed to do?
It happened organically, because I think one of the things when you come over to a new country, you try to assimilate so fast, right? And one of the things you do when you do that is to deny,
We're showing the Borders video?
Yes. So yeah, when you come over, you kind of deny where you come from or any aspects of your past to assimilate very quickly, and you have to learn new languages, go to new schools, make new friends, and learn all the cultural, social codes of the new country and all of these things. And I felt that, to me, it was always part of it. Because I'd gone through that for like the first 8 years of being in England and I denied being Sri Lankan, then when I went back there, I felt like, it was more of an impact, because...
You didn't want to leave because when you went back to Sri Lanka, you went for a month, but you ended up staying for 2 months?
Yeah, because I was sort of like shocked by it because I realized how much I'd shut myself off from it, So everything was like quite mind-blowing.
Did you do that? I mean, you were young when you left, so is that something that you did, shutting it off, or is it something that happened with your family?
I think that, interesting question. I think personally I wanted to just like fit in and be cool and I was interested in different things, I was exposed to a new culture and a new country and new languages and new people and I was very curious, and so part of me felt hopeless about being connected to Sri Lanka. Like I tried to write letters to people back home, but slowly you heard news that they're not there anymore, they've been killed, or blah, 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 has moved away. And so the life that you remembered in Sri Lanka was sort of disintegrating, and it was not the one that you left, remembering. So I think it's just like a safety mechanism. You just kind of shut it off and, go forward.
But even in England, you didn't really fit in because you were called names.
Yeah.
And then there's an interesting part in the documentary where you do, when you first go back to Sri Lanka and one of your relatives is like, oh, well, you didn't really experience this. What was that moment like? Was that hurtful? What your
Yes, and I think that's really common for all of us, that who move is you don't quite fit in here, but when you go back, you don't quite fit in there, you know. And I think that's very unique to the immigrant refugee story, you know. And we're constantly trying to figure that out, especially if you're also the first generation, you know, like yourself. If you've made that transition and you do remember some of it, you know, to discuss those differences on both sides of where you come from is, yeah, it's quite difficult.
And in the film, we see your dad, who founded Sri Lanka's Tamil resistance movement and worked with the Tamil Tigers. In Canada, our government lists the Tamil Tigers as a terrorist group and says, founded in 1976, Tamil Tigers is a Sri Lankan-based terrorist organization that seeks the creation of an independent homeland for Sri Lanka's ethnic Tamil minority. Although the group was militarily defeated in May 2009, subversion, destabilization, and fundraising continue, particularly in the diaspora. How do you view the Tamil Tigers?
Well, my dad was part of a movement called EROS, Elam Revolutionary Organization of Students, which then later became part absorbed by the Tigers because the Tigers were larger in number, and part of EROS became something else, and then my dad became a mediator between the government and the Tigers. But the way I view the Tigers now is, you know, for me, I still say the problems that we face hasn't really been answered, and that hasn't been quite dealt with, and we as Tamils don't really have anybody to speak for us now or to be concerned about our issues, you know. And the international community were very quick to label and tag the Tigers, but at the same time, the accountability for the war crimes created by the government is very, very slow, you know, and nothing's really been done. So on the one hand, yeah, people were really offended by the Tamil people's support for Tigers. But if you take the Tigers away, the Tamil people just don't have anybody else. And we know that we're dealing with a government that's actually quite prejudiced and is racist, which is, you know, it goes back a long, long, you know, there's a history of it that's way beyond the Civil War, you know. And in terms of like the entire timeline of why Tamil people feel oppressed by the state, I think it goes longer than, you know, the 35 years or 40 years. So Tigers is one small part of the story, but that discrimination and oppression hasn't been fixed. And I think, yeah, it's really difficult to watch the silencing of Tamils, you know, using the word terrorism and association to the Tigers, you know, but really as a collective community, one of the things is fighting for their identity. Like there needs to be an identity. There needs to be somebody that defines what the Tamil is. You know?
But you've been called a terrorist yourself because you support the Tamil Tigers. How does that feel to be called a terrorist?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a musician. You know, I haven't abused anyone or killed anyone or been to war in my life, and I think that it just shows the flippancy in which we use that word terrorism to apply to so many people who are, you know, underprivileged or minorities in faraway countries. And the West has a responsibility to understand you know, the diversity in problems faced around the world by many different communities. And, you know, it's the same. They were trying to apply this to something as drastic as, you know, what's happening in the Middle East, to what might happen in Ireland, and then what happens in Sri Lanka, to what happens in, you know, with ISIS or whatever, and then they join it all up to this one word. But it doesn't really discuss, like, the history of these places and really what's happened, and put these people in situations where they had to form resistance movement and had to fight oppression, you know.
Well, what about on the artistic level? Like, how big a role do you think the controversy of your Tamil Tiger connection played in your success?
I was the only Tamil singer who'd ever been nominated for an Oscar, Mercury, Brit, and
A Grammy.
And also won the BET award that same year, you know, and it's never happened in the history ever before or since. And it just so happens that that particular moment when that happened, the Sri Lankan Civil War was coming to an end. Like, it's just common sense to me, or, you know, it's like, it goes without saying, I'm gonna talk about it and be vocal about that, because it is part of who I am. It is, you know, it displaced me, and I built my life based on what happened there. And my family was still there, and many people were affected by it. You know, my grandma was affected by it. Like, it's not something that, you know, I was referencing. It's like, that is me. It's part of what I am. And yeah, I think that's just their sort of laziness or ignorance to really fully investigate what it's like when you're the first person coming up from a space like that, you know, because people are used to pop stars coming from the West or discussing other issues, but they've never had to deal with somebody coming up from somewhere quite far away discussing something very specific, you know. And I think it's easier to shut it down and be like, oh, this doesn't mean anything, than to actually take the time and understand it.
And then that video, Born Free,
Yeah.
At one point YouTube pulled it. What was your vision for that video? What were you trying to say?
Well, it was based on a true story that I heard. So I was interested in, interested in seeing what would happen if you know, because I tried to show people the real videos, because during this time on YouTube, the real footage from smartphones filmed by soldiers while they were, you know, raping women and capturing and executing people were posted on YouTube as like a boasting thing. And that material was not censored. It was there, and Tamils could see it, you know, and the Sinhalese used YouTube to post these videos to, you know, brag about it. And so I found that really frustrating, because I could see the events happening because it's there, and people had smartphones for the first time that year. And yet there was no response or an outcry from the international media. So I just felt that something needed to be sort of explored in that sense. So yeah, I just thought I'll take that Tamil video and then I'll just change the characters and make everybody, you know, Western, and see if it relates to people, you know.
Of all the criticisms that you've heard or read about yourself, what has been the most fair or accurate?
Criticisms. Wow. I mean, it's like an Encyclopedia Britannica of criticisms. What has been the most accurate?
Or what has been the most unfair?
I mean, all of them has been quite unfair, you know. And I think it's because you're the first, And I understand that. Like, I approach everything with a 50-50, you know, like, understanding. I'm like, I understand, because there hasn't been you know, a Sri Lankan pop star before. So I understand that there's room for, you know, misunderstanding. And also, I'm not a trained musician or a trained politician or trained in anything. I'm actually, you know, a refugee who came from an underprivileged, like, you know, below poverty line upbringing, and climbed my way up and got an education, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of wanted to include all of these things to what, you know, it wasn't just I'm a Tamil, I'm a refugee, but it's also, this is what it's like living on a council flat, and this is what it's like being poor, this is what it's like being uneducated, this is what it feels like being, you know. So it was, I wanted to talk about all of those things. And that's why you run into so many, like, misunderstanding, because these are all very, like, huge.
Do you think that this documentary allows people to see the whole M.I.A?
It's never, I mean, it's 90 minutes, and I handed him 700 hours. So it's never going to be the whole M.I.A thing.
But does it clear up some misconceptions?
I think so. I think, you know, people have always asked me, you know, are you, you know, coming from a privileged background, your mum and dad are doctors and you did this, or, you know, were you really like that? Did you really come from a council flat and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I think, yeah, there's like, for example, there's a shot in the film where my uncle's reading the sexual assault crimes against women. And I landed, my first day when the auto arrives, I landed in the middle of a protest where all the women, Tamil women, were protesting in the middle of the city centre because a female teacher had been raped in broad daylight at 7 p.m. on the way home from school at the busiest, you know, like Times Square of Colombo in the capital, by 14 soldiers and policemen. And they all had been acquitted that day. So when my plane landed, it's the first time I'm visiting Sri Lanka since I left as a 10-year-old. And I landed in the middle of the protests and the riots. So that just like changed my entire journey there, because that's what I landed into. And it's not in the documentary. So like for me, that actually is what kind of drove the direction of what I felt there, you know. But that incident's not in it. And when my uncle's reading that list, my uncle is the person who actually documents all of the assaults that had happened for 20, 25 years for Amnesty International. And that's not really said for his safety. So all of these things, I just found that it was, the documentary's quite light-hearted in that sense, you know, and that Steve actually left out a lot of the gruesome, you know, stuff that I'd filmed, which the reality was a lot more gruesome, yeah.
But I think having watched it, I feel like I have a better understanding of what it is that you are doing and what you've been trying to say. And I think maybe it gives other people an opportunity to not to like misquote you or perceive you to be something that you're you're not saying. But we only have like 1 minute left. We've actually gone over.
Sorry.
No, it's been a great conversation, and I wish we had more time. But what are your future plans for music and for continuing your activism?
I would like to explore that space a bit more. I think that the rich and poor divide has only grown even more, and the refugee community has grown even more in the last 15 years. And the poverty line and the lack of education, all of these things are just growing, even though we are technologically advanced and we have all the resources in the world, and et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I think I want to explore that more, to be like, no, I'm not going to go away. Actually, this is not solved, and it's still a problem. And these kids still do have dreams, you know, and they deserve education because we've got the means to have that, you know. And I think that's an important aspect of thinking like globally and making people feel like, I guess, confident, you know,
And that they matter.
They matter, and no matter where they come from, they can still have a dream and still try to make it, even if they've got, you know, a cardboard box and a pair of scissors and they need to get, you know, going. And
Maya, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege to speak to you. It's always been a dream of mine to meet you and to talk to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
On the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Every year, a commemoration takes place in Niagara-on-the-Lake. It's been happening for more than 100 years. But for many, its significance is only more resonant today given our collective experience of the current pandemic. Justin Chandler covers the Hamilton-Niagara region for Ontario Hubs, and he joins us from Hamilton to explain. Good to see you, Justin.
Good to see you.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson here. Can you take us back to Niagara Camp in Niagara-on-the-Lake?
So our story starts with St. Vincent de Paul Cemetery, in which there's a Polish enclosure, it's called, and that's where the bodies of 20 Polish soldiers are buried. And you might be wondering why Polish soldiers are buried in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and this takes us back to World War I. Now, Niagara-on-the-Lake is often known for its tourism and its wineries, but back then it was actually a very important military hub, given its proximity to the border and access to other travel routes. And so in Niagara-on-the-Lake, near where the now restored ruins of Fort George are, we had something called Niagara Camp. And Niagara Camp had two portions. One was a site for Canadian conscripts to train, and the other was a Polish camp called Camp Kosciuszko. And this is where volunteers who were fighting to free Poland trained. Now, Poland had been occupied by foreign powers for about 125 years. So these were people who'd volunteered to come to Canada and fight in the war effort in the hope that they could free Poland. So this is a whole bunch of the soldiers laid out, and you can see how things would have looked and just how many young men there were training at the time.
Now, you spoke to a local historian about the Polish soldiers and their legacy on the town. He actually ended up writing a book on this. What can you tell us about him and the book itself?
So Richard Merritt, he's a local historian in Niagara-on-the-Lake. His book is called Training for Armageddon, and it's all about Niagara Camp. And at the time, the people in Niagara-on-the-Lake, when the Poles first started arriving, they were very concerned. They were thinking like, okay, all these young fighting men are going to come to town. They were getting locks changed on their stores and things like that. But eventually, they really became affectionate for them. And Richard Merritt, he calls them the boys when he talks about them. And he talks about how they were just these really good-natured people. And it started to happen that over time, Niagara-on-the-Lake was even stocking Polish books in the library. So the community really embraced these people.
And then something happened in the fall of 1918. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Things obviously took a change for the bad. Yes.
So things were going pretty well up until September. And that's when the 1918 flu pandemic, often called the Spanish flu, although it did not originate in Spain, that's when that hit Canada. And Niagara-on-the-Lake has the unfortunate distinction of being the first place that the flu pandemic touched here in Canada. So it's believed that it probably came over from the United States, but very soon in September, some of the Polish soldiers in Niagara Camp started to get sick. And the flu was very deadly, very dangerous. And there was another wave in January in 1919, but in the end, 31 trainees and 2 officers in the camp died because of the flu.
What I find interesting is, as we are living in a pandemic now, there are some similarities and some differences in the way that things were handled back then. Was the way that, public health safety measures that are being handled now that drastically different from when they were being handled there?
Not in a lot of ways. I mean, there were not the same social safety nets that people had. So a lot of people would still have to work, but there were closures, there were lockdowns. People even wore masks. They were gauze masks that actually helped spread the virus a little bit more, but people thought they were doing something there. There didn't seem to be any sort of social distancing, Richard Merritt has noted. He said that there was actually a parade during the pandemic where soldiers from the camp marched into town, so something that we would not do now. But if you actually look at what happened during the Spanish flu in Canada, there were a lot of similarities to this pandemic.
And I want to bring up a name. Her name is Elizabeth Asher. She was a journalist for the St. Catharines Standard at the time. Why is she so significant?
Well, Elizabeth Asher is somebody who local historians I spoke to, like Donald Combe or like Roman and Andrew from the Polonia Canada Historical Institute, they say that she was really someone who touched a lot of people and was very important, but is an underappreciated historical figure. They say everyone in Niagara knows Isaac Brock. There's a gigantic statue of him, but not a lot of people know Asher. And now she was a St. Catharines Standard reporter, and she was very active in many different community groups. I don't know how she had time to do anything, but she sort of comes into this story because she was reporting on the Spanish flu in Niagara camp and on what was happening with the soldiers and on their war efforts. So they actually started calling her the Angel of Mercy. And she worked to help get medical help to them and with other volunteers and people in the town who were caring for them during the pandemic. As you can see from the graveyard, this was actually even done recently. So this is something that people worked to try and to give her due and help pay a little bit more attention to her. But Elizabeth Asher, one of the things that she did is that cemetery where those 20 Polish soldiers are buried, she actually worked to care for that cemetery. And so one of the ways that they remember this is through Polish Sunday. So the second Sunday of every June, and this has even happened during the pandemic, although without as many people, but people come to the cemetery and they'll lay flowers in years where it's safe. There's a parade. So it's the sort of thing where, although this happened 103 years ago, every single year it's been commemorated and people come out and they show their support. And it's something that I think is really touching. And when I talk to historians about this, it's something that they even tear up when they think about. Like Richard Merritt has pointed out, like the men who died there, they were volunteers. They came out trying to do something good. And tragically, they lost their lives in the pandemic. But I think it's really beautiful that today people are still working so hard to make sure that they're remembered and that what they did for Poland, what they did for Niagara, and what they did for Canada is still remembered.
Justin, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you very much.
And that's it for tonight's Agenda in the Summer. I am Jay Jaganathan. Thanks for watching TVO and for joining us online at tvo.org. Have a good weekend, and Nam will see you again on Monday.
The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism. Ontario Hubs are made possible by the Barry and Laurie Green Family Charitable Trust and Goldie Feldman. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.